Does the U.S. public care about recent news of major disruption of data communications networks by unauthorized individuals, where these data communications networks are owned by the U.S. federal government as well as large private businesses? Big question. There is no lack of scary commentary about the impact of the unauthorized penetration of U.S. data communications networks owned by the federal government and private companies, identified during the week before Christmas here in the U.S. by FireEye. Brad Smith, the president of Microsoft Corporation, one of the 5 largest businesses in the world, has issued a policy statement on the topic because of the gravity of the risk represented by the successful unauthorized penetration of these data communications networks. No less an authority than former National Security Advisor to the President of the United States, Thomas P. Bossert, has written an op-ed piece ringing the alarm bell for all to hear for the New York Times. But there has been little, if any, news of public outcry about the risks. Why? More importantly, what does the lack of public outcry have to say about the bets investors have made on cybersecurity businesses in the aftermath of news of these crimes? The U.S. public is still insulated from the pain these crimes would otherwise produce. All of the credible commentary written about these crimes leave the question of what the crimes mean or the extent of harm done unanswered. The usual remark amounts to a, quote, "we don't know," end of quote. If experts can't pinpoint the result, what should the U.S. public think about it? Although the list of organizations victimized by these crimes continues to grow, no credible commentary has pointed to specific wounds or the gravity of them. It is for sure scary to read how the data communication networks for nuclear weapons facilities managed by the US DOE were compromised, but without clear statement of the damage done, the public is left unmoved. There has even been talk of the crimes as merely surveillance operations, rather than real attacks, as if surveilling the data communications networks in the US built to support critical infrastructure without authorization is somehow not so scary. Cybersecurity businesses talk about the crimes as exploits of well-known vulnerabilities as if they can be fixed. The Kunal Anand may be right, but is the task of fixing these supply chain risks doable, especially given the limitations of Ethernet data communications networks, packet-based networks lacking the handshaking required to confirm participants in a data communications session? The doable question is a big one investors need to think about before pouring money into cybersecurity businesses. If a problem is almost impossible to solve, does it make sense to pour cash into businesses determined to do the undoable? And I want to be clear here. I'm not advocating just throwing up our hands and saying, go for it, as far as hackers penetrating these networks. What I am saying is to be selective. Investors, I would recommend, as somebody who has sold these security tools in the past. In fact, I worked for the original distributor of Checkpoint Firewall 1 here in the United States, and actually provisioned these products to some large customers. To be selective. Gone are the days when building a firewall to stop unauthorized intrusion is going to do much. Look instead for security companies offering expertise to educate staff about emails, tricky emails that seem real. And on a daily basis, the reality factor for these fake emails, which are really trapdoors, is growing more and more and more. And so therefore, the real defense for these networks resides in educating personnel within the organizations using those networks to be very, very careful with regards to how they deal with email, text messages, social media messages, etc. This is a question investors in cybersecurity should carefully consider before pouring more cash into businesses determined to beat today's hackers, whether they are inspired by crime or the policies of nation-states. If the U.S. public is ignoring the risks, and the facts creating the risks themselves are exceedingly difficult to fix, the expected returns for further big investment may be less than satisfactory. My name is Ira Michael Blonder. I'm the CEO and founder of IMB Enterprises, Inc. And as I mentioned, we have over 15 years experience working with data communications networks, packet networks, as well as serial, RS-232, RS-244 networks. If you have a question or a business notion to discuss, I will be happy to speak with you about it as long as we can discuss the topic in less than 10 minutes at no charge. You can call me at 631-673-2929. Here in the United States, please visit our webpage, https://www.imbenterprises.com. Please also visit my personal Twitter page, @MikeTheBebop. Speak with you tomorrow.